Hello, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, editor of CropLife and CropLife Iron magazines, here in a hotel visiting with my good friend Lara Sowinski, who has a blurred background. So you can't tell where she is, but trust me, the blurred background is probably useful. So, Laura, welcome to the program, of course, again.
Thank you. Good to see you. I know you're out and about this week.
Yeah, and before we get to my out and about, I know last week you had talked about a little bit about your out and about, but I
Uh-huh.
know that this week we have a video clip to share with our viewers. So if you could remind everyone where you were last week, and then give us a little background on what we're going to be watching here in a few minutes.
Yes, so I was traveling in the Midwest. I started last week in Des Moines for EFC Systems, now EverAg Agribusiness, their Agribusiness Summit in Des Moines, and then drove down to Kansas to visit some of our ag retailer friends. My first stop was with MKC and Dave Spears. And the video clip that I have, they're very proud, and rightly so, of their safety center there at MKC. They have, it's really an experiential as well as a training center. They have simulations of where you could experience a grain engulfment and how to recognize that, how to respond to it, even for first responders and safety folks that arrive on the scene. It was just a comprehensive way to really show the dangers and likewise, how do we respond in these cases. So I have a couple things, but the one we'll see today is a grain dust explosion. Again, it's small scale, but it's to show what happens and how easily it can happen. So let's take a look at that now. It's only about 45 seconds.
Then also, if it blows out the side of the elevator, it's got two going up where he's got his hand. It simulates that grain going out that side. It blows out that side.
This canister could represent the basement of a boot pit. This would represent you going up through the elevator, and this would represent a galleyway going across the top and out the side. You want it right there? Sure. All right, Will. Are you ready to go?
Ask me after the explosion.
It's not that bad. It's going to be like too much.
3, 2, 1.
Wow. So you can see that was rather terrifying. For me, holding my iPhone and trying to record this, I was in the far corner of the room with Dave Spears, standing behind Dave Spears, quite honestly. But it was really, really, again, I had no idea how severe and how quickly that can happen.
Wow.
And so that was one of the demonstrations that they have there in the safety center. They had small scale, again, the grain engulfment thing, everything was smaller scale, but certainly it was, people could get there and get inside. And so it was a really great way to train people again. One of the few ag retailers, according to Dave Spears, that has such a setup, and it's become very popular, not only in the ag retailer community. They, have visitors come all the time, but the FFA students come along. They have officials, state and federal officials that visit. So, yeah, pretty darn cool.
All right. Well, before we move on, of course, I will send my thanks and appreciation to our friend Dave Spears for acting as a human shield and keeping our girl Laura safe during that demonstration. So yes, thank you for that, Dave, and thank you, Laura, for the video clip. So as I said, now I'm on the road. You can tell from my backdrop that it's courtesy of Holiday Inn Express, which is fine, and I thank them for their hospitality. But I've been, as a part of our CropLife 140th anniversary this year, I was visiting with ag retailers across the states of Iowa and Minnesota this week. And, a couple of takeaways, I will have more information to share in print and online, of course, down the line. But one of the things that was interesting to me, Laura, of course, when you think Iowa, and you're thinking crops, you think corn.
Wow.
And I know it was interesting to me on my drive down through Minnesota and into Iowa earlier this week. I passed a biodiesel facility that Minnesota Soybean Association apparently was, is behind, and there's a lot of soybean crush going on into that facility. And then one of the ag retailers I visited this week had mentioned that there's another crush facility that is currently being built in Alta, Iowa, and that one will be making renewable diesel. And as you remember,
wow.
our friend Ken Zuckerberg has been talking about renewable diesel and how much of the soybean crop in the U.S. will be required to actually make that effort, viable going forward. And to me, it's very interesting that, in a state like Iowa, where corn is king, obviously, that there's actually efforts underway to make sure there's going to be a demand for soybean as well. So it'll be interesting to watch the crop mix in the state of Iowa going forward to see, if maybe soybean makes more inroads as some of these new efforts into soybean processing become more and more commonplace. So
Yeah, interesting.
yeah, and the other thing that was interesting, of course, we talked a lot about ag technology and adoption. And one of the things we talked about with folks here was the use of drones. I know there's several drone companies, one in particular, Brantizo, which is based in Iowa. So a lot of the drone demonstration field days I've attended have taken place in the state of Iowa. And, one of the things the ag retailers I talked to said is drones are really interesting to them, but they all commented on the fact that the power supply is a little unreliable. That
Right.
the batteries that drones currently use just drain way too fast, depending on the payload they have, for them to be really that useful. And this is a teaser, of course, because I can't talk about it just yet. It's an embargoed piece of information, but it sounds like there is some hope on the horizon for a new battery process that could make drones a little more viable going forward. So I should have some information or definitive information to share next week. And teasing next week, I will be at the National Farm Machinery Show down in Louisville, Kentucky. That is a huge show. If you've never been there, Laura, you know that it's one where you basically walk all day long on cement, so your legs get very, very sore. Your feet hurt. I know I got to pick up some Dr. Soul's insoles so that my shoes will not be bothering me by the end of my 5 or 10 mile walk, depending on how it goes. But this year's event, they're expecting about 250,000 attendees. That'll be crowding into the Kentucky Convention Center. And that'll be starting on February 15th and run through the 18th when they do tractor pull, which is a big local draw, obviously. But of course, I've been getting a lot of invites from companies that are going to be attending at that show, talking about their new product introductions. And a lot of them thus far are in the tractor category, not really our market, but I am sure there's going to be some information on spreaders and tenders and sprayers and probably drones that I will be able to share with our viewers next week. So if you're interested and can't make the show yourself, tune in to our video next Saturday, and I will share everything I found out while I was down in Louisville, Kentucky at the farm show.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, Miss Laura, you've had a perfect record so far. Let's see if you can keep it going. It is time for Fun with Numbers.
I'm ready. And
I hope so. I
keep
tried
it.
to make it a little tougher this week. So, all right. Your number is percentage. It's 22.9%.
Okay.
All right. So it is 22.9%. Is that a projected percentage decline in net farmer income for 2023 versus 2022? Is it B, the percentage increase in soybean exports for 2022 versus 2021? Is it C, the projected percentage increase in corn acreage for 2023 versus 2022? Or is it D, the percentage of time I've actually spent in the office in February 2023? And I'll tell you that we're a little over 10 days into the month, and I've only been in the office 3 days. So you can do the numbers on that. It's not quite as low as 22.9%. Darn close.
Oh, wow. This is a tough one because I could, I'm going to go with A, the reduction in farmer income. No?
You are on a roll, my dear. You got it again. Yes. According
Wow.
to
Wow.
USDA put out their projections for net farmer income for this year, and they're projecting it to be 136.9 billion, which is going to be down from 167.3 billion, which is a decline of 22.9%. Good job, my friend. You are doing great this year. So
Wow.
I am really going to have to think and try to make much harder questions. But yes, all those other things I mentioned, they all had they were all news items of the last week or so. They all had various percentages tied to them, but they were much lower than the 22.9%. So good job.
Well,
you're perfect. Barbie Ferrari is, I think you're going to step up to a Benz. Barbie Benz. I don't know if Barbie has a Benz, but we'll see.
Well, at least I get that big, huge stuffed animal, right? So I can ride it on the Ferris wheel. And
yes, if you were watching
my
Despicable
friends.
Me, it would have been a unicorn, right? There's the big fluffy unicorn. All right. All right. Well, everyone, thank you, of course, for joining us this week. We hope you enjoyed our video. And like I say, stay tuned for next week. I'll have an update from the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville. And until then, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comments section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.